me come to each of you to understand from you what you think is a solution. Forget the politics for a moment, because it's not just Delhi, across the country. I was in Bengaluru in April and we saw water crisis in parts of Bengaluru as well. Shilp Verma, is this a crisis that's getting worse by the year? Water tables are receding in several parts of the country, and therefore in peak summer there are no alternative solutions being provided beyond just relying in Delhi, in the case of Yamuna, in the case of Bengaluru on the Kaveri, and that water supply is declining year by year.
Thanks, Rajdeep. Yes, I mean, the problem is becoming worse by the day. Partly it is because of climate change and the growing demand, the heat wave you already mentioned. But I think partly it's also mismanagement. And I will leave the politics aside, as you suggested. But I think that the minister has only talked about half the problem. The water needs of Delhi are met by surface water supplied from the Yamuna. But there's also a big component of groundwater, which is locally pumped. And that meets 40 to 45% of the needs. And I think that is what we have been mismanaging for the last 20, 30 years. And we are seeing the results now. That used to act as a buffer. When surface water supplies were diminished or limited, then the city could depend on its local groundwater reserves to yield over the crisis. But now those reserves are kind of emptying.
And is that because of untrammeled construction? Is that primarily because of untrammeled construction?
It is construction, so that has reduced the natural recharge. But it's also overpumping. I mean, we've seen the kind of construction we've had in the parts of Delhi. If you look at Gurgaon, with a little bit of rainfall, there is flooding everywhere. And yet the groundwater tables are going deeper every day.
Right.
So we have badly mismanaged this crucial resource. Two things. One, we've mismanaged groundwater. And two, we've not managed rainwater well enough. And I'm sure my co-panelists will also talk about it more, how Bangalore is trying to do.
Let me go to them to look at S. Vishwanath, advisor Biome, your environmentalist. Tell us what, according to you, is the solution. Let's look for solutions. Most people believe groundwater tables declining across the country, across our cities, and you cannot only rely now on the traditional water sources, whether you're in a Mumbai, Bengaluru, Delhi, any city of the country.
Right. But first, Rajdeep, we need assured water supply for our cities from a designated source, be it a river or a dam or a reservoir, as it may be. The city needs to know that it will get this much volume of water in a particular season, like in a particular month, so that they can plan. But within that, the cities, as my co-panelist was pointing out, has to look at 6 taps. The first tap is rainwater. It has to do a lot better in harvesting rainwater. The second tap is lakes, streams, and surface water. That needs to be locally managed so that it supplements the pipe water which comes from rivers. The third is groundwater. We don't have groundwater management plans for our cities. We need to create the institutional framework for understanding groundwater better and managing it better. The fourth, very important one, is used water or wastewater. Treated wastewater is now increasingly seen as a source, and with dual plumbing lines can easily replace non-potable water in our cities and has to be planned for. Delhi has more than 2,000 million liters per day of treated wastewater. That should be brought to productive use. The fifth, of course, is piped water, which comes from rivers or reservoirs or Kaveri in Bangalore. The sixth, most important, is demand management. Now, if Delhi were to tighten its belt by 10%, which is the shortfall in water, some water for all, it could try and distribute the water, the remaining water, to everybody, provided everybody is connected to the network. Universal coverage, regular water supply, 100 liters per capita per day assured water supply, and 150 when it's the season of plenty is the way to look at it, with all the 6 taps in consideration.
Very interesting solutions there being offered by you, Mr. Vishwanath. Nitin Bassi, Senior Program Lead, Sustainable Water, the Council on Energy, Environment and Water. Is this a problem that's going to worsen with time given climate change, or do you believe that there are solutions out there?
Yeah, no, Rajdeep, I think you're very right. I mean, the problem is going to increase in the future. I mean, we already see what climate change has done in terms of increase in temperature across. You know, you see hills, you see plains. It is same everywhere. Now, if I talk about water, you know, there are 3 main, approaches that usually are taken. Traditionally, we have been busy augmenting supplies. So, this is usually the approach whenever the shortage is filled. Then, of course, we have to plug the losses wherever the losses are happening in the system. And in cities, the supply losses are close to 40 to 60% of the supply. So even if Delhi says that, about 1000 mgd of water is supplied, at the user end, the water which is reaching must be only 60 to 70% of it. The third approach, which my co-panelists also mentioned, is about how we can ensure reuse of treated wastewater or used water. I think this is one area which is least explored. Now, let me provide you a bit of more context, taking Delhi as an example. Now, even if we continue to, focus on augmenting the supply, I mean, in future, we are looking at, Renuka Dam to fulfill Delhi needs. But going by the estimate, that dam is not going to be ready by 2030. The construction has not started. It will take 2 more years for Delhi to receive water from the Renuka Dam. So we are looking at supply from Renuka Dam by 2032. What does it mean? Shall we continue to live with water deficit? No. We have to plug the losses which are happening in the system. I understand that Delhi government has taken initiative to install bulk flow meter, which can actually make us understand where the losses are happening when it is supplied to the system. But then it has to move. I mean, we need to understand the status of the installation and what actions have been taken to plug the losses.
But, go ahead.
And the last bit is about the treated wastewater reuse. Delhi uses only 10% of its treated wastewater, which is very low considering the scarcity that we feel in Delhi.
You're giving us the bigger picture, and I'm going to come to that accountability question in a moment, which will again draw us into politics. But Raj Bhagat Palanichami, your Senior Manager, Sustainable Cities, WRI India, give us a sense. Is this a problem confined to Delhi? Is it spreading across the country? Is it even worse in some of the smaller cities like the Punes, which have expanded, dare I call it a small city anymore, expanded so rapidly that there will come a water crunch in these cities even faster?
Right. Thank you, Rajdeep. Actually, that is a very important thing because, whenever there is a crisis in Delhi or Bengaluru, it comes to the news media. That is how it happens. Whenever there is an event happening in some smaller cities, it never comes to limelight. I mean, it doesn't mean that it is going to spread to other places. It is already there. Only thing is, in these years, we are a little bit focused towards Delhi or Bengaluru. And always it's, the focus is always on these months when the crisis is at its acute stage. So, I mean, it's more like once the disease has crossed and you have seen the victims' damage and everything, only after that we are reacting or we are responding to everything. So the thing is that across India, irrespective of the state, irrespective of the city, we don't have a proper plan for this.
Yeah, but
management. I think I actually agree.
You see, Delhi particularly at the moment has a problem because we are dependent, Shilp Verma, largely also on water that comes in from Himachal. And you've heard the minister saying Haryana is not giving us water. Now, surely water belongs to every Indian citizen. It cannot just be a particular state which insists that the water they will first fulfill their needs and then give it to the other riparian states. And that has become a problem over the years. Is there a solution? Should Haryana be made by the Supreme Court to ensure that Delhi gets its water supply?
I think there is some kind of fighting over water going on in different parts of the country. But the long-term solution is for every city, metro cities at least, to take lead and say we can become water positive. I think Delhi cannot just keep saying that Haryana must supply water. It also has to take its own initiative to say, okay, if we are using 1,000 million gallons of water every year or every day, then we are also going to do something in upstream states to replenish that water resource, either by harvesting more water or by recycling our own water, as the co-panelists talked about. That's the way to create water. We cannot create more rainfall, but we can create water by reusing the water that we're using. For every 1,000 million gallons that we use every day, about 80% of that is generated as wastewater. And why can't Delhi treat it? I think cities like Delhi, Bangalore, Chennai and Mumbai should take lead in saying we will become water positive cities and show that as an example for the rest of the country and the world.
How easy is that, S. Vishwanath, to make water recycling the solution for the future? Is it easy given the sprawling size of our cities, the demands that are being made by citizens, the fact that you have this unregulated construction in different parts of India over water bodies that have existed for centuries?
Yeah, so it is difficult. It's not easy. Cities are growing and growing rapidly, but most importantly, they're growing without a master plan in place. A lot of the city's growth is in the periphery, which is informal, not regulated, very dense, and very difficult to get water supply and sanitation services there. So we need comprehensive master planning and at least some form of planning where a majority of the population live in areas which are planned for, infrastructure-wise and land use-wise. But within that, cities themselves are now decentralizing their wastewater treatment plants. Bangalore will have 59 wastewater treatment plants by the end of this year. So therefore, treated wastewater will be available locally. It can be used to refill lakes and wetlands so that they recharge aquifers and then become potable water after treatment to be supplied to the city. If not for potable supply, for non-potable supply. It's not rocket science, can be done. But we need to change our institutions. For example, Delhi still calculates in gallons. Who on earth in India calculates in gallons? Everybody's shifted to liters. We have 20th century institutions, unfortunately. We need 21st century institutions which are in tune with managing groundwater, managing reused water, managing wetlands and rivers and lakes. None of our water bodies and utilities have anything except expertise in sending piped water supply. We need to make them well-rounded and we need to financially empower them.
Right.
You can't have a system where people get free water forever and the institutions are broke. Unless the institutions have money, they cannot invest in repairing the leaks or extending the infrastructure. So let's think about our institutions well.
I want to leave it there. I wish we had more time on this discussion, but clearly I hope some of the suggestions that are being put forward and all the expertise that I've just seen is used by government. These are areas where you need private-public partnerships. And therefore, rather than Haryana, Himachal and Delhi fighting with each other, why not involve experts as well? Find alternatives and stop the politics. Haryana must recognize that the water that is coming from the Himalayas doesn't belong to a state, it belongs to the people of this country. And hopefully we will find solutions as climate change particularly is a major concern.